DPW Parks Rec meeting to order. First thing we need, motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting. Motion by Supervisor Sokol, second by Supervisor Gerard. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. I'll turn this over to Superintendent Tennyson.
Okay, the first item is update from Saratoga North Creek. I see Justin is here from Railroad. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you. Good morning. Morning, Justin.
A couple things to give you an update on. The first thing is the contract has been signed and is in place with the Revolution Rail Riders to do their operation on the tracks north of North Creek. So everything is good to go there. You'll see a picture on the laptop in front of you. That is a picture. A couple months ago I said we were going to be getting a new locomotive. We have received that locomotive. We're going to be getting a second locomotive, and it is the same designation, a GP40FH-2. I figured I would give some a visual as to what a GP40FH-2 looks like. Once again, this locomotive is equipped with PTC, Positive Train Control, which is going to be a new regulation requirement for 2018. Has other improvements over our other locomotives, such as a locomotive hot start, which will decrease fuel consumption. It has head-end power to provide power to the train, so we don't use the generators on board our regular cars. It is also provided with a locomotive cam, so that if we have a head-on collision at a crossing, we can pull the footage from there to see exactly what happened. So it's just got a lot of modern updates, and one of the best things it's got, along with its sister locomotive, is air conditioning and refrigerators inside the cab. So a little better crew efficiencies there. In addition to that new locomotive, we're also going to be getting a new dome car. That should be here by July 1st. It's going to be exactly like the dome car that we currently have, only it'll likely be in Iowa Pacific colors, the brown, orange, and yellow, reminiscent of the old Illinois Central. Last week, I was out in Chicago. We had a round of meetings. The purpose of that meeting was to take a look at the 2017 operations plan. As I believe most of you are aware, last time I was in front of you, we presented a proposal to operate weekends only. We have since reevaluated our position on that. We've taken the contract into consideration for our new proposals. Anna, my marketing coordinator, and I have to get Mr. Ellis the completed proposal by this Wednesday, and hopefully by Friday I can have something to present to the county of what our new proposal is going to look like for summer of 2017. But until then, it will still continue to be weekends only through June, which is what we normally do. So for the time being, there's no change. That is all I have to report at this time.
Justin, I have a question. When are the Revolution Rail Riders going to start?
Their contract officially takes hold June 1st.
And what is their anticipated end date? Like how long will they?
Oh, their operating season? They're looking to operate at least through October, although weather permitting, they may go longer.
Okay. Did you? Yeah. Claudia?
I read in the Post-Star that there have been some discussions, and I know the Post-Star is not always accurate, so I was hoping that we could have an update from the county leadership as to what is going on with the contract with rail riders.
The county attorney informed me that there was there's several discussions, and he has been on ongoing discussions, and he said that Ed Ellis is very committed to continuing, and I think that at this point there really isn't anything solid to report to the committee, other than the fact that there are ongoing discussions regarding them.
Anybody have any further questions for Justin?
Okay.
Thank you.
Just to let you guys know, I may not see you next month. I will have some representative here, but my wife is due in about a week, so I may or may not be here. But someone will.
I have just one question. Why the cancellation of the runs this weekend?
The cancellation of the runs this weekend was due to the low ridership.
Low ridership, okay.
Fairly common for the weekends in May.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, that's the big problem.
Okay, with that, we'll turn it over to Mr. Benway.
Okay, first thing I have for you is the spring stocking update. We're actually all done, we're completed, we've done 26,675 total. I have attached on page 1 a graph of the year's history of what we have. Any questions?
You start over.
The second thing I would like to do is the second annual Spring Zine update. It was actually a good event for the weather. We ended up having 309 individuals. It's slightly down from last year, but I believe that was weather related. It started to rain right there at our lunchtime, so once lunch was over, everybody was gone. We had a total of 109 groups. 152 children received gift bags. We had total groups from Warren County of 69. Total groups outside of Warren County was 38, and there was one out of from New York and Connecticut, and they're a seasonal person. I have also attached a public comment that anyone would like to share. Mr. Dan Ladd did a great article Thursday in the Chronicle. He was actually present at the event. That was his first time, plus he posted stuff on our website, so he thought it was quite the event. And of course, Mr. Simpson was there also.
That was there, it was a great event. It's nice seeing so many happy participants
Yeah,
and people standing around gazing at the trout.
yeah, it was a good day. Short and sweet, but it was a good day.
Dan?
Just a part of the program where glamming was involved that came before us, that's using the fairgrounds. I just wanted to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, that is, the contract is being finalized for that?
I went to Cornell last night, attended, and nothing major, but I asked how that was going. And Cornell informed me they had a building on the fairgrounds that I think it's under contract for them to use as storage, but the glamming people did go in and remove stuff or whatever. It was, I guess, lack of communication. So I told them that I would bring it to committee and Jeff, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. It wasn't anything that couldn't be fixed, but they would appreciate. I think there was one other smaller issue that Cornell was not aware of that they were going to be utilizing, that there might have been a conflict. Nothing that couldn't be overcome, but if you could check out with Dr. Sealy and the glamming and make sure that the communication is open so that everything's smooth. I think they all want to work together, but it seemed like there was a breach there, and there was cause for concern. There was some...
I think it's simple. If they have any concerns, they should contact myself or Tim Benway. They were authorized to place some material in preparation on the site, but they shouldn't be removing any equipment. So
Correct.
that's news to me, and
News to me also.
certainly Dr. Sealy has my phone number. So anything that happens like that, if he can call us right away, we'll Tim has been in touch with the coordinators for that glamping on a almost daily basis. So we can certainly address that.
The only issue that stuck out with me when I asked the question, was everything okay? And they said they did have a contract on a storage, but the glamming people have kind of taken that over. And they did have equipment that they use for the fair in there. I'm not sure where that ended up or what was the end result of it, but I told them I'd check into it so that everybody knew the view of what.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Tim. With that, we'll move in, unless anybody has any questions for Tim, we'll move into the Public Works.
Okay, thanks. On page 1 of the agenda is just some transfers. These are for some excess funds out of some completed road projects. You'll see those throughout the season, as we talked about before. So we want to move those monies out of old projects into new projects and ongoing projects. Page 1, transfer request.
Okay, moved by
Motion, right?
Yep.
Supervisor Dickinson, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion?
Do we want to do 1 through 4? Is that acceptable?
Well, they're they're related to other projects, but I'd be happy to talk to those as well, if that's what the chairman wants.
People that made the motion, Supervisor Dickinson, are you okay with that?
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Yep.
And Edna, you're okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
You want me to talk to them all?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I mean,
So on page 2 is request to move money out of unappropriated surplus, and just one correction on the request is where the funds would come from. But I had a meeting with Chairman of the Board and County Administrator and Chairman of DPW regarding increasing our capacity this year and actually getting additional production out of our construction season based on the fact that we have a healthy surplus and we have plenty of roads in need. What was identified out of that meeting was three additional projects that we'd like to establish road projects for. So on page 2 is a request to actually award some additional, to award contracts for some additional projects this year. The total amount would be $577,254.80. The request is listed right now as coming out of unappropriated road surplus. I think the intent of the meeting was to actually take it out of general fund, but I'd leave that up to the committee and to finance to determine what the funding source would be.
I want to back up a little bit under advisement from our attorney. These are related, so we're going to separate them.
Yeah.
I think it would be better if they'd be separated, yes, yeah.
So if,
You want to start over?
we have a motion made by
I make a
Supervisor...
motion number 1.
And I'm second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed,
Done.
carried. Okay, we're on to, we're going to continue with this.
So following that meeting, where the request was to enhance our production this season, and actually we had put out a pretty robust paving bid to explore contracted costs on multiple projects. After that meeting, it was determined that we've got 3 projects that are that would be appropriate to award to a contract, which the board has already authorized last month. These are the 3 projects. They do need a funding source. In the meeting, we talked about unappropriated fund balance out of the general fund, A code. So that's a little bit of a change on what is on the request right now, which is listed as a D code. So these are projects that would be appropriate for contractor support on. They would augment the other work that our county paving forces are doing. And I know there's been a call for additional work put into roads based on the status of the fund balance and the good numbers and the good news that has come out of last year. So that's what this request would put some of that money to good use.
Before we take any questions, I wanted to ask the budget officer what he thought. He really is the key part of this process.
Well, that's a good chunk of money, $577,000. It's doable, as long as we have money as we go forward here with other. It's doable.
Yeah, I think the intention is a one and done, and evaluate it again. It's, but we'd like to tackle the infrastructure issues that we have. Okay, committee?
I want to make a motion to get that on the floor. We needed to make a motion for this one, right?
Yes, we did.
And we're going to take it out of the general fund, is that correct?
I think that's up to the committee to
I
determine.
think we have to. I think we have to.
Yeah.
So the general fund is the E fund, is that what
It'd be A, but it'd be unappropriated fund balance, I think would be the term.
Okay, Supervisor Sokol made the motion. Do we have a second? Supervisor Frazier? Dennis?
I do have a question. What are you doing on Riverbank Road?
I wondered about that, too.
That's County Route 11. That's a section of road that we're continuing to work on.
Are you actually paving it?
Well, that's
You
my
drive
question.
over there.
We're doing some milling and paving.
But on a section that wasn't done before, I'm just thinking, last year or the year before, you did a lot on that and put down new blacktop, so I guess that's my question, too. Where are you working on that road now? Above, below what was done before?
This project would go back on that same area, and there were some material problems with that project.
Oh,
So
okay.
it is in the same area.
Okay.
Supervisor Sokol?
Nice to be chairman.
I was just curious if we were going to have to do this every year, but you mentioned we're just going to do this on maybe on a continuous basis, but we're going to reevaluate every year.
Yes, reevaluate it. It's, I think you have to work with the budget officer and everybody and figure out if, we're able to do it on a continual basis, but that's the...
No, I think it's a good idea, and I think it's needed. Obviously, the public has always raised concerns about the roads, and maybe we can appease Supervisor Gerard now so we don't have to listen to him anymore either.
I've never complained about a road.
I don't think I've ever heard you complain about a road.
Like way out of line.
Everything else. but-
Okay, anything,
Well, I got
Supervisor Merlino?
How do you decide which roads to do? We do worst down the line?
No, we can't, frankly, we do, each year we do a pavement evaluation.
Right.
And that report is distributed to the board, and it's actually posted on our website. We look at the life cycle of each of the roads and whether those roads are at risk to falling into a category where they require additional work. So we try and catch them before they go from a simple overlay to a reconstruction. And then we do assess kind of the relative percentage of poor roads across the county. Certainly every town, almost every town has a certain portion of county roads that are in poor condition, with the exception of, really town of Lake George county roads within the town of Lake George, in part because there's so few county roads in Lake George. They're in really pretty good condition. So there's enough money to go around in each of the areas, and it's simply an engineering review, and I take the recommendations from our engineering staff on what they feel is necessary for the roads themselves as a whole.
Okay, thanks.
Supervisor Sokol?
So is this a bid process then that we're...
These projects have already been bid.
What? Oh, they have? Okay.
Yes, the committee and the board authorized last month a bid to go out and authorize award to the lowest apparent bidders, and so we're ready to proceed with awarding contracts. Now we just need to move the money in place. And that's what this resolution will do.
3 different bidders or all the same?
We had Peckham Roads and Gorman, we didn't award anything to, right?
No, we didn't.
So, Peckham Roads and Kubricki were the 2 contractors involved.
Budget officer?
Are you going to use contractors with your regular scheduled projects, or are you going to help offset some of the load that the paving crew has, so that, maybe they can concentrate on one job at a time and get a little better job?
Some of this alleviates some of the projects we had planned, but one of the requests I have to follow up is additional projects. So we're basically substituting contractor work on some of the work that we had planned, and we're going to focus on other work. We did bid a dozen projects or so, so we know what those costs would be. It's just a matter of what we can afford. Right now, I think this is what we can afford to contract out on, and the other work will continue. Our paving crew is active now, and will continue right through the season on road projects, and then also other projects with the hatchery, bike path, the railroad station parking lot up in Johnsburg. So we're doing a lot in-house. We are going to have a busy paving season regardless.
Well, I just think that if you offset a couple of larger jobs that they had to do, I think, they do good work, and they pay for their for more money. I think if they're not being bounced around the county and pushed all the time, I think they get
And I concur with that 100%, and we have involved our paving foreman a lot more into our scheduling, and one of the things that this work actually will do, we have a couple projects out in kind of the farther reaches in Stony Creek area, where we're doing a couple big segments of some major mileage of road, and we will be able to stay out there and do a couple projects concurrently versus bouncing around. The only time it's good for us to bounce around was when there's other constraints. It's certainly not a preference for us to do that, but some of these projects involve contractor support with even shallow milling. If we mill, a 1.5 or 2 inch milling of a project, sometimes to really flex and be able to use contractor support, we end up jumping around across the entire county more often than we want to, and because of those other scheduling constraints. But it's never a preference for us to do that, ever.
Okay, if there's nothing further to discuss,
Are we doing 2 and 3?
The next,
well,
they're separate projects.
separate
on 3.
project.
Not the same project?
No,
Thought they were.
we've got a motion and a second on the floor, Dennis.
Try to confuse me here. Okay.
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
So on pages 3 and 4 are combined effort here. So on page 3 is to establish 3 new projects as part of our in-house road paving program. And then on page 4 is a request to transfer monies out of various projects into those 3 new projects. So we're transferring a total of $423,562.76 into these 3 projects as what's laid out on page 4. So page 3 establishes the road projects, page 4 transfers money into those road projects.
Is that both of them, Dan?
I'd love to do both of them.
Okay, we'll do both of them. They're connected. They're
They'll
connected.
get shot down.
Okay.
How much is it?
I'll second that.
Can somebody give the amount?
4 some...
$423,562.
Motion by Supervisor Ryan. Seconded by... Okay, any further questions? Sure, Dennis?
I have a
Positive. Now we're on a roll.
Mr. Administrator.
I have a question. In the future, can we put the amount of money down?
Yeah,
I don't see it anywhere.
Well, it's on there, it's just not added up.
It's not added.
Add it
Gotta
up, you have to
total
add
it
it
up.
up.
Huh?
It's here, you just gotta total it up.
You have to add it up. Add it up, that's all.
Oh, it's there.
Can we put the total on a page next time?
Okay,
Is that
Kevin.
possible? Asking a lot. Jeez.
Okay, any further discussion? I'll call the question.
Cameras on.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried.
Good thing.
Okay, that's it for action items. We didn't have any referral items, and then under discussion, we talked briefly about the bids we put out for paving. We will be awarding those contracts for those authorizations the committee just advanced as far as those new projects. We did conduct this past weekend our first Household Hazardous Waste Day of 2017, and I know Kevin Hajos is here. He's got some updates on some of our numbers out of that day. That was conducted in Warrensburg on this past Saturday.
Thanks, Jeff. As you all recall, we had this last year, we had a pretty good turnout for both Warrensburg and for Queensbury. This year, not quite the same. Last year, I think we had almost 150 cars in Warrensburg. This year, we wound up with 32. Jeff and I had a discussion, which may be part of the discussion here, is maybe we do this every 5 years, or maybe every 3 years, but I'm not sure that every year you're going to take in a significant amount of material for the household hazardous waste. But for this year, what we had taken in was about a cubic yard of aerosol cans, 2 55-gallon drums of paint, that's oil-based paint, 1 55-gallon of pesticides in a liquid form, and then 1 cubic yard of pesticides in a solid form, and then 55 fluorescent tubes, and that was it for this year. We still have one more collection day, which would be June 17th in Queensbury.
Well, let's see how that will...
Yeah, my thought would be end of June when we come back for committee again, we'll have numbers out of that Queensbury date, and then we can assess whether we want to plan for maybe one next year, just one consolidated location, or skip a year and then try it again in 2 locations. So we have some options. At this point, the bulk of the work that was done by Kevin and his staff in establishing the RFB that went out for this contract is done, so it's a matter of changing the dates, maybe tweaking some of the materials that the board wants to collect, but we can put out another bid whenever the committee and the board feels. So I just think it might be prudent to reassess how often we're going to do this. It certainly wasn't worth the effort of the contractor. You know, they obviously derive a revenue off of collection of this material, and they have a lot of expense in mobilizing manpower and their equipment to the site. I would fear that if we continue with poor numbers like this, our costs are going to go up significantly. It may be just better to look at the schedule and space out these events a little, from year to year.
Jeff, how well did we advertise this?
We did the same advertising as last year, so we did.
It was put in both the Post-Star as well as the Chronicle, and then we hand out laminated flyers to all the town halls, all the transfer stations, so it's out there everywhere.
There wasn't a buzz this year about it, though. Last year, it was the first time. This year, it was kind of like, I forgot it was even going on until I went up to Nemec on Saturday. It just didn't seem there was that much traction this year. I agree, you ought to probably do it every couple of years or every 3 years as people accumulate.
And as Jeff said, I mean, we have the proposals already in place, and the grant application that we do through DEC, that's fairly quick. We have it all, completed, just more or less changing the dates every year.
There wasn't a lot of discussion about it this year. It didn't seem.
So we'll report more after the Queensbury event.
Okay.
I do have some photos to send around on some of the completed road projects. The first one, as Budget Officer mentioned, we did complete paving some out on Harrisburg Road on Stony Creek. That was done with in-house forces. And then I've got some photos of West Mountain Road project. That was a federal aid project through a pavement preservation bid, so much more robust, much more expensive process, but a good project nonetheless that was completed here recently.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I travel this road every day, and I was just very pleased how well it flowed. Not only did it come out excellent, it was just a nice flow. There wasn't a lot of backup. It was well done.
The same contractor on that project is working now on Bay Road between Haviland and Cronin Road, right in the ACC area. So that work will be ongoing for the start of the summer here. That's all I have on those items for discussion, and then attached I have the overtime report and the fuel usage report. Any questions, that's all I have for committee.
Yeah, you're right.
Any questions, concerns from the committee? And overtime and fuel? Okay, Administrator Garrett.
I request that the chairman of the board write a letter to New York State Department of Transportation about the terrible conditions of the state roads in Warren County by listing them all, and no particular order, but I think we need to start with State Route 418. That's a disaster. There's no money. I've been told by a resident engineer, I'm getting calls in my office from people who live over in Thurman now, concerned about the road. It's in terrible shape. There's no money. The resident engineer says there's no money. Sanzal seems to have selective memory now, because he wants a letter from the chairman, would appreciate a letter. I think we had a meeting with Sam. We listed the road, and I thought we already sent him an email saying 418, Route 8, Route 9N, and that includes Route 9N all the way to Hague. Tongue Mountain is a terrible shape.
It's a disaster, it really is.
And so if somebody can formulate a letter for Ron to sign and send it off to him immediately, because Warren County is getting short-sheeted on state funds, and I'll ask my Democratic friends to do what they can do with this governor to see if we can't get some funds here, because the state roads are in terrible shape, and they're not going to they're not putting any money into paving in Warren County this year. I know they're doing patchwork on 9N, which I just talked to a constituent says, oh, that's a great job they're doing on 9N.
That's a waste of time. I will report on Route 8 from Chester, the repair from the bridge going towards Weavertown is being done right now.
But not the rest of it. They didn't finish. They didn't finish the portion in the town of Johnsburg.
Right.
They did 9 miles and left the portion in the town of Johnsburg.
I tell you, going over to Luzerne is a disaster.
Come up Tongue Mountain. Literally.
That's what I mean.
Holes that are like this and this deep.
So can somebody put together a letter for Ron to send out to Sam, Region 1, and can you CC us all so we all know that he got it? And because right now he's just saying, I need a letter from you.
Well, I just want to say in our town, we're discussing just having a letter writing campaign from the people in the town to send down to the government, to DOT. I went to a function on Saturday. If I had one person come to me, I had 6 people come to me and say, what is the problem with Tongue Mountain? How come they're not doing anything? Steve had gone out, taken pictures, went over to see DOT in Warrensburg. He sent the pictures down to Betty and Dan, and really all you get is lip service.
Right.
We'll look into it. But that was why I was opposed to spending $35 or $53 million on a bike trail,
70 million.
or however much it was, and our roads are in absolutely horrible condition. And if, like on Tongue Mountain, it's like you're trying to avoid this pothole, but trying to avoid that one. There's another one over here, or you end up in the other person's lane. So that's what we're going to be working on, trying to get a letter writing campaign going.
And just as a side, I'll tell you how tough shape New York State DOT is in. In December of 2015, we asked for 2-hour parking signs on Main Street in our community. The signs haven't been put up yet, because they don't have 2-hour parking signs. So that was December of 2015. And here we are, May of 2017, the signs still haven't been put up. And this came from the resident engineer. And we're probably looking at another 3 months for 2-hour parking signs. Something's wrong, guys, with what's going on in Albany.
We pay enough road taxes, no question about that.
And the worst part is that, okay, you can't do a certain road this year. Just tell me when you're going to do it so that I can tell the residents when you're going to do it. You can't respond to that. It isn't simply that you have roads that need to be done. They can't even address the question on when they're going to be done. And that I think is really what's really the most unacceptable to me. Because people understand it's a big state, there's lots of roads in the state, sometimes you got to wait a little bit. But when you can't even tell people when it's going to be done, the patchwork on 9N, I mean, such that it is, I guess you could say it's better than it was, but it didn't deal with any of the drainage issues that we have on 9N. It doesn't deal with any of the shoulder work that I know Supervisor Dickinson was looking for in terms of creating a safer place for people to walk, hike, or bike. It's just, it is what it is. I guess we should be grateful we're getting something, but...
That's a sorry state of affairs.
And my understanding was, that they were gonna pave the whole thing, but then what I heard was their funding got cut. Is that what you heard, Kevin, too?
I heard they have no funding in their budget for any of the roads here. I know I just read on the email that you're going to be blessed and fortunate to have Senator Little attend the intercounty meeting up there in the Wild Center on Thursday, so perhaps you can bend her ear a little bit about, but I know I personally talked to her. When was it, Cynthia? We talked to her about 418 was when we had Maple Days. We were there, and she asked me about 418. I said, it's a state road, and we're in tough shape here, and I guess we got to do the letter writing campaign to, like you said, Edna.
Gene?
I'll chime in. Yesterday I came here, I was just leaving Lake Luzerne at about 8:45, and the state was just coming down 9N, off the ramp onto 9N, heading towards Lake Luzerne with one of the portable tar things behind them. It was 8:45. They started 7 o'clock in the morning, number one. And number two, when I got back, they patched on top of the patch of the other. So now it is, and I just spent $600 on my little PT for new struts, and the guy said, you're hitting too many roads. I can't help it, I got to ride down the road.
You can buy a new one for that.
So, I mean, really. That was low. but anyway, no, and I called the state guy up there, and he told me, he got half the funding that they got last year, and Sam, when we met him, said it was cut the year before, so how much did they cut? It's really, and then I will say, on West Mountain Road, I was riding on West Mountain Road a couple of weeks ago, and they were milling and doing the road, and I thought it looked beautiful. I even called Jeff and said, you guys are doing a good job, but I found out it was a private contractor. Now that they did the whole job, it's really pretty. I mean, it's nice to ride on. So, I mean, we're doing what we need to do in the county, but the state is horrible. Horrible.
Supervisor Gerard.
I'll get back to that. It has Public Works tomorrow, Wednesday, after, there's an executive session pending litigation.
Yeah, that was,
That's listed.
that's for Brian, to talk about, learned on the contractual information on the railroad.
Yeah, because he's away at a conference for 2 days, so that's why he couldn't be here. I believe
Oh,
that's
it
why.
was litigation.
That's what I believe, that's why.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay. And then just, not that I could help out with these roads, but if you have a Democratic governor, you should put in a Democratic chairman of the board now. All this done.
Oh, I
I had no
Dinner
idea.
table.
I had no idea his cars.
You could run again next year, kid.
Listen, the chairman of the board was,
Some people think you have.
Dan, the chairman of the board had dinner down in the governor's mansion with the governor.
Yeah.
It didn't get us anyplace.
I wasn't going there, Edna. I just brought it up, thank you.
But then it was roadkill.
I'd like to just ask a question. We're a town that contracts with the state, and I've really given serious thought to, when we renew this next contract, saying we're really not interested in contracting with the state because of the condition of the roads and what it does to our vehicles as far as springs in the trucks and the plows. I wonder if it's worth writing a letter that goes along with the contracts that we're supposed to sign. They're kind of behind with us. We're still working on 14, 15, 15, 16.
Well, that'll get their attention.
Well, I guess that's all I'm saying. Maybe if they say, hey, this town says they're not going to do it, and they've got to figure out who they're going to get to plow that road for them. Not that it could really do a whole lot, but it seems like, wouldn't it be worthwhile at least to get that letter off?
Well, certainly, because I had a conversation out in the hall. That's why I came back and said, let's redo the letter. I mean, I can't believe that our Region 1 director needs a letter from us to listen to what we said, but that's fine, we'll do it. Ron, you don't mind signing it?
No.
And getting it out, and maybe what we need to echo what Edna's saying about the town of Hague. Because without the town of Hague taking care of that road,
They've got to figure out.
they've got to find more resources and to get over there.
Yeah.
Again, for what it's worth, why don't we just throw in that we'll do it and we'll build it?
That doesn't work, I tried that on that.
Well, that's what you did, right, I remember that.
And they thanked me, but they didn't give me any.
And one last thing before we adjourn, I just want to know what budget code you got the box out of. That's a new box right there.
That's
Oh, more WB Mason, I see.
That's on loan, it's not a DPW box.
Okay, if there's nothing further,
A motion.
motion to adjourn. Okay, we're adjourned.